So we have one more invited tutorial today, and it's a little bit off the theme, but I think it's of general interest, especially to the ham radio operators and to people who are interested in radio history. And this one comes from Dr. Jim Breakall, WA3 FET of Penn State. And Jim is a professor at Penn State and has quite a background. I'm going to, the title of his talk is Nikola Tesla, the pioneer who paved the road to the world and ham radio as we know it. And so I'd like to invite Dr. Jim Breakall, who the hams, he's done a great deal of work, but the hams might know him from, you are the designer of the Skyhawk HF antenna, isn't that right, Jim?
Yeah, that and maybe just a few other ones too.
Like the one behind you, maybe?
Yeah, I've done a lot of designs there.
Yes, you've done a lot, and
especially the HF design.
You talked about your HF heating antennas last year, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yes, that was a great talk too. All right, so take it away, Jim.
Okay, and let's get this on. Okay, let's see if this is coming up. Okay, did everything come up okay?
You're in great shape. Looks great.
Yes.
Okay, and you can hear me okay. Okay, very good. Okay, well, good I guess it's afternoon now, and maybe some places even morning on here. I want to say hello also to mis hermanos in Puerto Rico that I see in there, all my good friends in Puerto Rico. As you know, Puerto Rico's been through a lot these past years with Maria and the earthquakes and now the coronavirus. And HamSCI has really helped a lot with people in Puerto Rico. So we thank HamSCI for that. And I also want to thank Nathaniel and all the people that worked to put this HamSCI 2020 together, especially with the coronavirus. And so far, it's just a great meeting. Well, anyway, I hope this will be a really fun sort of presentation here. It turns out that back at Penn State in 2006, which was the 150th anniversary of Nikola Tesla's birth, I gave a seminar to the electrical engineering department and actually all of Penn State. And as soon as we put the title out, we were bombarded with people at that seminar. It was standing room only. And I found out there's a huge cult of Nikola Tesla people out there. It's sort of like a Star Trek, you know, and when they have their meetings. Anyway, I thought that I would go through just a brief rendition of this talk, and I have at the end of my presentation I have the links for YouTube that has the whole talk on, and the whole talk went well over an hour, and I know I don't have that much time now, so I'm going to be sort of careful with time here, but anyway, I'm going to play some videos later of some of the demos that we did at the talk. Unfortunately, I can't do the demos in my house right now. I think I create too much ozone for my my wife here. But anyway, there's going to be some demos later, and you'll see some neat things with Tesla coils. So anyway, I should mention that also at the presentation back in 2006 was Mr. Dave Blood, W1AFC. And I got some video of him and some a neat Tesla coil that he built. Okay, so just briefly going through the slides, because I know we want to get to the videos. That's going to be the real important thing here. Okay, Nikola Tesla was born 1856, Austro-Hungarian Empire at that time. There are many pictures of Tesla, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But there he is at age 23 and at age 29. And when he was in the university in Graz in Austria, his professor showed the class this thing called the Graham dynamo, and it worked on DC. So it was sort of like a DC motor. And it was sparking and hissing and all kind of smoke and everything. And Tesla sat there and he raised his hand. He told the professor, I know how to design this better. And so the professor said, what are you going to do, a perpetual motion machine or something like that? And so Tesla went to the park that day and he sat down on a bench, and in the dirt, he designed the induction motor. And that was good because Tesla never liked to leave many papers or records of what he did. He liked to keep everything in his mind. He could work calculus out as a blackboard in his mind. And anyway, this is what he came up with, the induction motor. And it was a breakthrough because it was the AC motor. It used no brushes or commutators. All the sparking went away. And of course, he then went on to develop the generator as well. Westinghouse, who everybody have heard of, I was so interested in what Tesla did, and they started manufacturing these motors and generators. And he was a great big funder of Tesla in those days. Well, there was also another inventor you all have heard of, Thomas Alva Edison. Edison believed that the world would be run by DC, okay? And Tesla, of course, was AC. And so you probably remember there was a recent movie called The Current Wars, and Edison and Tesla fought a lot on AC and DC. And in fact, Tesla actually came to work with Edison originally. And Edison gave him a wager. If you can improve my DC system, I'll give you $50,000. Well, and Edison said nobody can improve anything that he invented. And so Tesla did improve it. And he went to collect the $50,000, and Edison said, oh, you'll get used to the US ways of our joking and things. And Tesla got very, very mad at Edison, and that was the end of their relationship. Anyway, Tesla went on, and he came up with 7 patents. They were probably some of the most important patents of all time, because it was how to generate and distribute the power that we use today, the AC power generation system and motors and so forth. And it's an amazing feat when you think about it, that something that was done way, way back in those years, and we're still using basically the same system that Tesla envisioned in dirt and, and in his head and so forth. It's just a real testament to Nikola Tesla and his genius. Anyway, these patents were just absolute breakthroughs. And of course, that became the end of the war. DC was out and AC was in. And Tesla won, and he got all the funding, and the rest is history, which we're still using today. Anybody that's plugged in for the wall right now, thank you, Nikola Tesla. Anyway, this is some more on the battle. Just a few stories. They actually used to have exhibitions, and this Professor Harold Brown, he would bring up old horses and dogs and animals, and then it's pretty gory, okay, so you know, you'll have to listen to this, but they would then shock the animals with DC, and of course the animal would just plop over. And then they would shock them with AC, and the animals are going like this, you know, crazy, and then they plop over. And so they said AC is just so dangerous, we can't ever have something like that. And then they even had the first electric chair, and I guess it just didn't go very well, as you could imagine, and with the AC, and it was terrible. And they even named this thing Westinghousing. Okay, so there was a lot of battles and wars going on back in those days, but AC eventually did win. Here's just some pictures of some generators, huge generators. I mean, this thing took off so much, and it really revolutionized everything for the generation of power. And it turns out, as I said, Tesla did not take let many people take photographs. He believed that there was this electromagnetic aura around his head, and somebody someday would figure out how to get the ideas out of his head. So he would never let people take pictures very much. He also did have many friends. He hated germs. He would be the perfect person in the coronavirus now, because he would never touch anybody, or he'd be washing his hands all the time. And he didn't have many friends. And one, though, was Mark Twain, the famous author. And there you see him, and he used to visit Tesla's laboratory from time to time. Well, one of the real big things that Tesla was interested in was wireless transmission of power. He believed that we never needed electric lines, and we could transmit power through the air. And that's why he had these Tesla coils, that he built huge Tesla coils. And he did distribute power even up to 20 miles in those days. And to this day, we don't know how some of the things that he did occurred. But anyway, while he was thinking of wireless transmission and power, he also thought of radio. And he actually had the first patent. But Marconi came in later, and the patent office threw out Tesla's patent, and they gave it to Marconi for the invention of radio. And they even gave Marconi the Nobel Prize. And Tesla was absolutely furious, and he tried legally, and Marconi had a huge company and a lot of money, and he never could get the history changed. But in 1943, and that was only a few months after Tesla's death, the Supreme Court finally came through and said, we made a mistake, and Tesla is the inventor of radio, not Marconi. I know we have some Italian friends. I see my friend Clay, I4LEC, he probably won't want to hear that. But anyway, that's the straight, get the history straight. Also, some of you have probably seen this very famous picture on the right, and these towers that Tesla created. Well, Tesla was a little bit smarter than in that picture. That's actually a double exposure. Tesla would never sit there. He knew better than that. So, but it was a neat picture that went around. As I said, Tesla wanted to have the whole world run wirelessly. I guess for phones now we are in that frame, but not for electricity. And again, I guess he wasn't thinking of a lot of the human health hazards and things in those days, but he did light lamps for 20 miles or more. And he even once wanted to create energy through the earth by creating mechanical generators. And he actually created an earthquake in New York City before. And here's one of the big Tesla coils. JP Morgan funded him again. In later years, here's some pictures. He didn't have many friends, but for some reason he loved pigeons, and he would go out in New York. He stayed at the New Yorker Hotel, and he would bring these pigeons that were injured back to his home, and that was his favorite one right there. Never married either, so he liked pigeons. Anyway, there's a lot of eccentric qualities. As I said, he hated germs. Once a fly landed on his table, he only had his own table at the hotel. Nobody else could sit there. A fly landed on the table. He made him take everything away. He would always make them boil the silverware right in front of him, and things like that. So coronavirus, he would have been okay today, I guess. War, he thought that war eventually would be run by machines, and there'd be rays and beams and stuff like that. And I guess Reagan's Star Wars was maybe something that Tesla might have predicted. He also said he came up with some kind of new energy source, and they called it a death beam in the media, but nobody ever knew much about it. But then we had particle beam weapons, and some people think that when Tesla died, the government went in and got his records, and because his records were never found. They never found his records. There's a Tesla coil there. We're going to get into that. Here's a circuit. It's basically You have a resonance in the primary, a resonance in the secondary. You have a huge step-up transformer. You get huge voltage. Here are some pictures. As I said, very few. I think this picture down here looks a little weird, but anyway, that's Tesla. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I went a little bit further here. Let me put the video up. First video. I hope this will come through okay. Before we do this too, I do have to make an announcement. We have to make sure, is there anybody in here who's wearing a pacemaker?
Jim, we can't see the picture.
Oh, okay, hold on.
If you are, you might want to step.
You can't see the picture.
No, if you're, I think you're only sharing your PowerPoint. You need to share like your desktop.
Okay, I did say share. Well, let's see, share desktop. Okay, let's see. Do I need to get back out?
Yeah, here
Nathaniel?
Here, I just stopped your sharing. Try
Can you do it?
You're trying to play the movie?
Yeah,
Okay,
we played it the other day and it worked.
Yeah, we did. Just try. Let me get it up. But while I'm doing that, you try to bring it up again. Go ahead and share your screen again.
Okay. Oh, I see. I have to share there. Okay. Do you see video now?
Yes. Now you're good.
Okay. Let me start over here.
Okay, great.
Let me see if I can get the sound off. Why?
To make sure, is there anybody in here that's wearing a pacemaker? Okay. I'm serious, because it could upset if you are. So if you are, you might want to step out. Otherwise, we may create a little ozone, so we're going to open the windows up a little bit. It shouldn't be harmful, but you might start smelling something once these things start going.
Is that loud enough?
Thank you, Jim.
That's perfect.
My name is Dave Blood. I'm really rather humbled by this opportunity to present this old Tesla coil that I built as a young child. Actually, I built it at age 14 in 1951. And that's 55 years ago. Now with a little math, you know how old I am. So it's 55 years ago, out of this 150 years that we're celebrating, was when this was built. And just like Tesla, I didn't change a thing, except I didn't have the concept to begin with. I just followed the diagram that was in a popular science book of how to build different things and do things, the radio TV manual, and followed the procedure better. Historically, it's quite significant, I think. It's worth saying just a little bit about it. Tesla coils dated back about 55 years before 1951. So we're talking about 110 years ago that the first Tesla coils came out. Vacuum tubes did not exist until DeForest came and invented the Audion in 1907. Tesla was demonstrating his high voltage, high frequency coils in the late 1890s, and had the vision of power transmission to be able to light up the world essentially, or light up a large area with one power supply. So a Tesla coil is a high voltage, high frequency device. And this one came with newer technology. It has vacuum tubes. And the first Tesla coils used very disruptive spark gap generators like this. Very disruptive. You'll hear it when you hear it. That what you need to do is make and break contacts. You need to pulse this thing in the primary, and you will develop it's a transformer that will develop the RF up to high voltages in the secondary. This is built on an oatmeal box. Shows you how simple it really was. It has two vacuum tubes, triodes, number 10 tubes, which cost now, if you try to replace one, it costs about $88 a piece. driven with a transformer that you might find in one of the old-fashioned radios, about 500 volts. And what you're doing is actually creating a tank circuit here, plate tank circuit, with a capacitor across it, which is your resonant frequency. And then that's this coil here. The bottom coil is a tap-off of its induced RF is picked up from the plate circuit and fed back in to create an oscillation. So it's an oscillator pulsing at the rate of AC peaks of power energy, which would be 120 times a second. The same principle actually is this, except it's done with vacuum tube oscillators rather than a spark gap system. And so it has very few parts, not much to it, but the coil it's about 1,500 turns on about a 3.5-inch diameter cardboard coil. And that took quite a bit of time. And the amazing thing was when you're 14 years old and you build something like this and turn it on and it works, you are amazed yourself because you don't know much about circuitry. You're just following directions. And I wasn't creative enough to come up with the design. So we're going to demonstrate this, and I think before we begin, I just want to be passing around something for the benefit of those that don't. I'd like to have some volunteers, maybe 9 or 10 people come up within maybe a 6 to 10 foot diameter of this. Where's my black notebook? What did I do? Oh, here it is. Meanwhile, for the rest of you, and I'll pass this around. Here's a captured spark in lucite, so you can see how delicate real sparks are if you take them one at a time. I think,
With the volunteers?
we'll try to maybe come around this.
How many more do you need?
6 or 8. Probably could do
Get a few
8 or
more.
9 maybe.
Okay, need some more up here. Come
Yeah,
on.
and we'll leave this gap open so
We promise you won't get electrocuted.
Yeah.
I think.
You're wearing jeans and ribbons. We're all screwed.
There's, use some of your gloves too.
Sure, go ahead.
And I want everybody to take one ball. You don't have to do anything with it. Just stay within something like 6 or 10 feet back from the coil. And here's one that's a little different. Here, somebody could take a circular one. Everybody we need some long ones over here. Would you like one?
They want to, yeah.
It might not work at that distance, but you'll see.
You're glad.
So we've got to let these. This is a neon light gas discharge tube. We brought it along because I need the neon light, and I'll hold the neon light. So after a little bit of time, so that the electrons can start boiling off the plate, you'll have to turn off the fluorescent lights to see this. And now bring your bulbs in just a little bit. Face yourself around.
Guys need to move it a little bit. There you go.
But it won't hurt if you touch it. I've done it. So as you can see, what we have is a lot of energy up here in space. We have a lot of power generated by this system. In fact, when you get it loaded enough, you see the spark is stopped. And it's still sparking a little bit, but basically we're zapping off some of the energy in the space around it. So you can have a lot of fun because something like this, you can try a number of different experiments with, and we're only going to have time to do just maybe 3 or 4. And that's all we can do. But there's a lot more that can be done. Notice different fluorescent bulbs have different phosphor, different gases inside, so they have different colors. So these are the natural light variety, and these are the white light variety. And you don't need wires. They can be burned out. In fact, I only use burned out bulbs because I can't afford to waste money on new ones. So that's the light demo here. And you'll notice that a neon bulb is really pretty good too. This is a neon bulb. And I have one other bulb here. Let me see where's my light? Where's my light? Oh, here. And of course, you see a lot of pictures with a fluorescent bulb. That actually, did you know Edison invented the neon bulb? That was one of his 700 inventions. And this, the neon, is one of the fluorescent lights, one of these economy type lights that, you know, takes 15 watts and produces 60 or 100 watt light.
Did he look a little bit like Mark Twain there?
So you'll see pictures of Tesla with a coil like this, and so you can take it.
Okay, there's just a couple more than just a few minutes here, so let me bring those up. And this one here.
Traditional Tesla coil.
Let me stop for a second here.
It turns out the spark gap is in here, so when this is going, you'll actually see the spark going inside there. That's a spark gap, and it's basically the same circuit.
Yes, fine. No problem.
Okay.
Winding around here, and all these turns are the secondary winding, and the sparks will come off of that. This is going to make some noise, okay? Okay, I guess we're ready, so. How'd that feel? Okay, we're gonna set the next one. Oh man, there's some ozone up there. Okay, let's set the next one up now. Yeah, no, it's twitching. You want to see it one more time?
About 5 or 6 inch parts there.
Okay, now we're gonna set up the one from the physics department. This is actually a commercial unit. It was built in 1930, and so it's an antique, and it's a little bit different style. Instead of just having the sparks go up off the top to the self-capacitance, it's actually going to spark between these two balls. The capacitance will be between those two balls. There you come up with that after. This is two wires that are very close together like that, and that's a spark gap. So what happens is when this transformer starts the AC waves coming up, okay, when it gets to the peak, it's charging that capacitor's following the voltage as it goes up. And then finally it gets high enough voltage, 5,000 volts, when it gets to the peak. Remember, it's a square root of 2 times that to get the peak. All you guys should know that, right? And then this thing will arc over, okay? And that shorts out this circuit. And so then this thing oscillates at the frequency of resonance at a very high voltage, and it couples into this secondary coil here. This is completely isolated from all the rest of this, or we'd get killed if we touched this, okay? And there's many turns. If you come up and look at this later, you'll see there's hundreds and hundreds of turns of wire, and then the capacitance is formed here with this coil, and then that's tuned to the same resonance as the primary circuit, and that's how you develop the huge voltage. Okay, ready on the lights? Okay, the lights, we'll separate them out a little bit. If you separate this, you'll be able to sometimes see how it won't arc continuously. You might get some lightning strokes between them. I might have to get the distance just right. We'll try it here. Okay, right there, we have a little bit too much separation. As you can see all the streamers going out all along the wire. Yeah, let me move it just a little bit closer. Always get nervous. Okay, we got one last thing here. Let's get the probe. Bill is going to be very brave and touch us. Which one? Let's see. I guess. Yeah, that's right. You're going to clip on here. Touch that one. Okay. Okay, ready? Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, just one more, and then we're done here. I had a student, and he was a freshman when he came. He's now a graduate student, and he built his own Tesla coils and made them musical. So he had a left channel and a right channel Tesla coil, and you got to hear this. That's all I'm going to say. I hope this will share. Is that coming through? Is that one coming through?
Yes, it is.
Great. Okay, that's all, folks.
Wow, thanks, Jim. That was awesome.
And then on my presentation, I guess if you can see that, that's the links to the YouTubes there. And of course, we are Penn State.
Thank you
Jim,
so much.
You're getting standing ovations from the comments here.
Wow.
That was over the top. Jeez.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you got to go watch the whole hour. Okay.
You know, I've seen a small version of that Tesla music demonstration before. My friend Andy Ammerheim, he brought one over to my house that he made, and I thought that was absolutely amazing too. And I mean, this thing here, I mean, that's huge. It's incredible.
Yeah, just I didn't play it, but just real quick, I'll just play a couple seconds. This is the largest one I've ever found.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few seconds.
You can just let this one play, Jim.
Okay. If you go to the YouTube, I have a version where you actually hear the Tesla coil. It's ear shattering. This is just a hobbyist in his backyard in Oklahoma.
There's a lot to be said for people who are just hobbyists.
Yeah, but you don't want to be out in the yard when this thing is running.
Jim, I have to say, as the person who designed the HF heater facility at Arecibo, when you get impressed, I'm impressed.
Thank you, Phil. I'm very impressed with this one.
Actually, Jim, that's a good question. Bill Engelke just asked, how many kilovolts or MeV are coming off the top of that?
Well, remember that air breakdown is 3 megavolts per meter. So figure how many meters are there, and you got the answer. It's basically artificial lightning.
That is impressive.
Let's see, how do I get this back? Oh, there we go. Okay. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much.
And Jim, one more comment that I know you will especially appreciate. Mike Welbiker says, Bob Zimmerman would have loved this.
Oh, yes, yes, so much so, yeah.
Bob
And all the
Zimmerman was a long-time and legendary Arecibo engineer, known to many of us, and I exactly agree with that statement.
Yeah, there's many other engineers too that are silent keys there. One I brings to mind is Sam Harris. He was the first amateur that did moon bounce, and of course we were lucky to do moon bounce with Angel, WP3R, and Joe Taylor, K1JT in 2010, and with the 1,000-foot dish. But Sam Harris was the guy who started, and also on moon bounce, you hear a very similar sound to the aurora. It's not quite as drastic, but it's from the lunar libration of the vibration of the moon with the earth and so forth.
Actually, you know, that's a good point, Nathaniel. In a future HamSCI conference, it would be really great to get someone from the very close and very active EME community to collect a few of those audio files. With more and more people are doing EME now. I think because of the digital modes that you can do that in a much more modest station. But
Yeah.
those big guns who've been able to do SSB off the moon, that would be really fascinating to hear.
That would
Yeah,
be
back
really
in
cool.
back in 1977, I was lucky to live at a place where it was part of an interferometer of Arecibo with a 100-foot dish, and it was going. The whole site was having maintenance over the summer. And so what is a ham supposed to do when there's a 100-foot dish in the backyard not being used? We said, we can use that on 432. So I built a short backfire array feed. We hooked it up on top of the horn that was for S-band, and we used the dish. And we did the first slow scan TV off the moon back in 1977. So I think between Angel and I and Joe Taylor, we have a lot of recordings of moon bounce stuff. that would be a good idea.
Who is it who did the 7 megahertz EME using HARP?
Yeah, probably Chris would be able to talk about that, I'm sure. And it's been done with big arrays on 10 meters. I remember John Brosnahan, some of you may have heard of, it was involved in the ionosphere community for building 50 megahertz radars and so forth. John had a big array on 10 meters and did moon bouncing before he became a silent key. But Chris may be able to talk on that.
Chris is on the chat window here. I can, Chris, if you are there, I can actually unmute you for a moment. There you go.
Oh, hey.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was I think the HARP moon bounce, that was KP4MD, I believe. I'd have to go back and check my notes. That was several years ago.
Right.
All moon bounce occurs from something in Puerto Rico, it sounds like.
Fantastic.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim.